Steve Harmison, what has just happened?
I have got no idea. I really haven't. I mean, I can't get my head around what England's game plans were, both with bat and with ball. I mean, 4.5 hours ago, Jon Norman, we were sitting and going, right, England win tea time tomorrow. They get 300 and a bit in front by playing cricket. By playing cricket, normal test match cricket, get a team ground down, grab them by the throat, which you're all taught from a very young age, and then nail them into the ground. This was England's chance to set down a marker, to walk to, if a 9-day break, to put a huge amount of pressure on Australia in a 4.5 hour period from basically effectively 100 for 1 to losing the test match. I mean, it's mind-boggling. Ben Stokes has just said they're shell-shocked. I think we're all shell-shocked. But I think when he was asked the question about how we got to this position, I think his team are going to have to... Yes, Travis Head was brilliant. Don't get me wrong. I want to give a huge amount of credit to him. But this is an English channel and an English show. And some of our shot selection, some of our shot execution was just terrible. It was shocking. It really was. I mean, we're trying to hit balls on the up through extra cover, where he might want to defend the preparation. That's fine. I've got no problem with that. I haven't gone heavily on the preparation side of it. But at least do your homework on a pitch at Perth, which you know for a fact, big boom and drives ain't the way to go. It ain't the way to go. You leave the ball in Perth. You don't boom and drive it. And anybody that turns around to me and says, Travis Head has just played aggressively to win a test match, you have a look at Travis Head's wagon wheel where he hit the ball. He hit cross bat shots, horizontal bat shots, square of the wicket. Or when the ball was a bit short on the back of a length, he picked it up and he helped it over the top down the leg side, both offside and leg side. He square behind square. The only time he hit the ball down the ground is when the ball was nearly Yorker length. We've got Ollie Pope, who's 5'8", 5'9", trying to drive a ball from about 6 meter mark. Zach Crawley, the same, pushed at it. Harry Brook pushing away from his body. It's just the same mistakes, time after time, and the England cricket team just don't seem to get it.
See, a lot will be said about Travis Head's innings. I was there in 2006. Adam Gilchrist hit the second fastest Test century. You were bowling, Harmy, of course. But as explosive as that innings was by Gilchrist, Australia had already won the game by that point.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that Australia won the game by the moment Travis Head walked to the crease. We still thought, many people, that the game was still in the balance. Australia were going to have to score the highest score in the Test match on a pitch that had just yielded 9 wickets in a session. Okay, he's then gone out and smashed England to all parts, right? And to be honest, it wasn't even that risky from him. After he saw out the first 3 or 4 overs, he seemed quite comfortable out there. England didn't lose this match because of Travis Head. They lost this match because of that second session, that afternoon session. At lunch on day 2, in a low-scoring encounter, you've got 2 set batters at the crease, a batting card that goes down to 10, with respect to Mark Wood, whose innings at Headingley in 2023, I think was a turning point in that Ashes series. And England are going to have to do that all over again, it seems. But essentially, you should be setting the opposition more than 205 to win a Test match. It was absolutely incredible. And as well as Mitchell Starc, Scott Boland and Brendan Doggett, who picked up 3 wickets bowled, that's where England lost his Test match. It wasn't with Travis Head in the evening.
No, it wasn't a Travis Head in the evening. England, and I said coming into this series, John, battered on it so many times that England, the team that I fear most to beat England is England.
Mate, we've said the same thing.
We've said loads of times. England will win games, lose games, kamikaze style. They've just done it.
Head to the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel. The day after England lost to India, I got the guys, Siddharth Monga and Jarrod Kimber, to answer his question. Does Bazball only work when England are losing? Because when England are winning, they almost don't seem to know how to win. They don't seem to know when they're on top, And the other thing with it all is that England just love to shoot themselves in their own feet. This is, again, I said this on Wednesday. I'm not being wise after the event. England don't know when they've won a game.
Yeah.
They'd won at lunch today, 2 sessions ago. They should win this game in a match which is not going to be a draw. You would have backed England, despite the history of England in Australia. You'd back England to win that game 8 times out of 10. And it wasn't even close in the end.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't close in the end. And I think we can sit here, right? And there'll be a lot of people, for the people that's listening or watching, you'll hear a lot of former players, influencers, whatever, bang on about how, poor England is and how bad Bazball is and this, that, and the other. And I've just had my say about it in such a negative way. I put context to what you're saying. You go to Perth, right? Perth is the bounciest pitch in Australia, right? In the first innings, we made some mistakes trying to drive the ball where Justin Langer on commentary is telling you leave the ball. I was with Ryan Campbell last week, Marcus North last week. The person that will fare best on wickets like this is someone like Marnus Labuschagne, who leaves the ball. So people that play in Perth, people that have been brought up in Perth, understand the wicket in Perth. Telling you that you can't play the big drive. Sir Alistair Cook's just told you yesterday morning, you do not play the drive in Perth unless it's right on the white line underneath your toe. Zach Crowley pushed that ball out in front of himself. Both times out, nicked off. Ollie Pope, another one, especially for a little fella as well, that plays square of the wicket. That's what Travis Head has just done. Again, pushing out in front of himself, away from his body. Harry Brook played well in the first innings. Combated the bounce nicely. He scored square of the wicket. Very, very good. Got out again. Third ball, which can happen. Playing away from himself, away from his body, pushing at it. Joe Root, again, looking to fend for the ball. The ball was 1.5 meters from them. It's nearly 2 meters away from them. And they're still trying to push out the ball.
So how is it?
The same mistakes. We have, I'm not coming on here to sort of keep having a go, and I keep saying the same thing. We are making the same mistakes. We will not get better. This team will not get better because what they do, in my eyes, is you saying there about the game was won. I think the England are dangerous to themselves when they think the game is won. That's the problem. We don't know how to close out games unless we go and win by 350 runs. We have a great way of thinking, right, the game's won. And this is where I don't think it's massive arrogance. But this is where a lot of people throw stones at this team and thinking they're arrogant, they're egotistical. They do care, but they don't sort of think about the situation at the time. They just think, right, that's it, game's won, Champagne Charlie away, and we're gonna look good. Not over Australia and the Ashes and the pressure and everything that comes with it. England have lost this game. Travis Head has played an unbelievable innings, and I'm trying not to take it away from him. But England have lost this game. Travis Head has played well, but England have lost this game. So I don't think they bowl very well at Travis Head either. But for me, it's about England losing this game, not about Australia winning it.
We've had plenty of reaction, as you can imagine. If you're listening on talkSPORT 2, you can also follow us on the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel. And as you can imagine, Southpawman says, here comes the excuses from Harmison. He calls you a big powder puff, which is, if you've ever met Steve in the flesh, you'd realise that isn't true. One of the greatest Ashes innings ever by Travis Head. Robin says, shut it, England aren't that good. Give Australia credit. And Skywalker says, never stop playing Bazball. Please, England. Bazball this, Bazball that. England are average. It goes on and on and on. This is a lot of Australians, obviously. But one of the points coming through is this one. Stark is way better than both Archer and Wood. And with Cummins and Hazelwood coming back, England are doomed. And another caller or another message says, Brendan Duckett on debut is better than the English bowlers. So, I can't say that I agree with all that, but certainly, plenty of opinion flying around. And Harmy, there is also a feeling that You know, England set themselves up for this. You know, the way they've approached their cricket and talked about cricket over the last few years, the Aussies have been desperate to get one over them, and they've just been basballed by the original basballer, Travis Head.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I can't disagree. I'm trying to look at it from the England side before we sort of give too much credit to Australia, because Australia, they deserve to gloat. I mean, last night, I mean, everybody's thinking England are going to win the Ashes 5-0. Last night, possibly the England cricket team were thinking they're going to win, very, very well in Australia. Possibly they're looking too far ahead. I don't know. We'll never, ever find that out. But when I look at the mistakes England have made in this game, I mean, copy and paste some of these answers from the last 3 years in so many different situations in test matches. Will we ever learn? No, we'll never learn. This is the England cricket team. This is the way they play. The Brendan Doggett debutant against the bowlers, it comes back to preparation. And people will say, I didn't think you were going to mention preparation. Going into this series, Marnus Labuschagne's got 400s under his belt, 500s under his belt. Brendan Doggett's got 2 500s under his belt. We've been playing against our own players, not Australian types of mentality players. We've been playing against our own players on a pitch which has bounced half the size as what this pitch has bounced. I mean, you're going to come unstuck. I tell you what, in a position where we just can't keep making the same mistakes, because if we do, like Adelaide 2006-07, when we got shell shocked against Australia, when we got 550, there's only one outcome. And England have got some soul searching to do for the next 9 days before Brisbane. Well, you lose off there. Wow.
You mentioned Adelaide 2006. I was there watching you. And I actually posted on X that at least we can all stop talking about Adelaide at 06. And Philip Binns says, quite an obscure thought, but I do feel that being in effect 90 for 1 at lunch and lose before stumps is probably the worst it has ever been. Is this the worst defeat in English Ashes history? I don't know, but the fact that we're even asking that question. I tell you what.
No, I've copped a few. I've copped on a bad end of a few.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I don't think it'll hurt as much as that.
Harmy, let's hear from the skipper. He's been speaking to TNT Sports' Isha Guha.
Ben, I imagine there's a lot going through your mind right now. Can you just make sense of what's just happened?
Yeah, a little bit shell shock there. I think that innings from Travis Head was pretty phenomenal. As you say, it's quite raw, quite fresh at the moment, but that was some knock.
At the same time, you were 99 ahead, 1 wicket down at lunch. So does that feel quite deflating?
Oh, look, I guess you look at the way that the game, eked out. It seems the guys who seem to have success out there with the bat in hand were the guys who seem to be really brave and take the game on. I guess if we were to be look back on that, it's almost on wickets like this, never think you've got enough. If you find yourself in a position where you're the guy who's managed to get in, try and give yourself the best chance of going on. But look, as you've seen, anyone who tried to sort of stay around there and try and occupy the crease with a lot of time didn't really seem to have too much success. But look, that knock from Travis is knocked the wind out of us there.
Well, you see the way he played. You lost 9 for 100 in that second session. Do you have to question the application?
No, I guess, as I said before, the guys who found success out on that wicket were the ones who looked to take the bowlers on and put their best ball under pressure. There certainly was a lot of assistance there when the bowlers put the ball in the right area, and the guys who were able to be brave enough to knock the bowlers off the lengths were the ones who seemed to find success on that.
When it comes to Travis Head, obviously you went with a clear plan to him. In hindsight, would you have gone with that plan again?
I think we tried 3 or 4 different plans at him, and when he was going like a train, those plans can change quite quickly because those runs were coming down quickly. When he's going like that, I've seen Travis play a lot of knocks like that, whether it be in Test cricket or in white ball cricket, and he's very hard to stop.
Some positives for you. That yesterday we saw that the fast bowlers coming in hot and that they were bowling with some real aggression. So that must give you some confidence going into the next test.
Yeah, definitely. The way in which we bowled yesterday was simply phenomenal. We had a lot happened on day one. It was 19 wickets fell, so yeah, it was a good day for the bowlers, and obviously, look, this is a very tough one to get the series going when we felt we were in control of the game and we were coming out there to bowl in that fourth innings. But look, we've got 4 more games here. We'll obviously let this sink in. It obviously hurts extremely, but then we've got to get our head rounds and move on to Brisbane and then hit the ground running there.
I imagine you want Brisbane to come a bit quicker. You've got a bit of time off now to really think about what happened here. Yeah, we do. We've got a long time before that game starts, and we'll be working hard going away and putting all the hard graft that we always do into to get into Brisbane and coming away with the result we want there.
So there you go, Harmy. England actually should have gone for their shots more.
Well, look, he's right. He's right. Travis Head played aggressively on that surface. I would look at it and go, there's one thing playing aggressively. There's another thing having a plan. There's another thing having an area which you could score in, which suits this surface against the bowlers you can. I've got TV in the background behind me, and I've just seen off the TV, that's still doing their analysis. From mid-wicket to extra cover, right? Which is, as a bowler, you want, on a bouncy pitch, if you can get a ball to bounce around about the 5 metre mark, going over the top of off stump, and you get somebody coming playing forward with a straight bat, you're in the game. Ben Stokes bowled a Cameron Green yesterday. He brought the field close and he said, right, give him areas to score out, and he got him out. Right, Travis Head has scored out of 120, whatever he got, 118 or whatever he got. He scored 16 runs straight down the ground. Everything else was square of the wicket, or it was sort of wider extra cover, wider mid wicket than it was straight down the ground. Crawley gets caught trying to push straight down the ground. Pope gets caught trying to push straight down the ground. Brook, the same. So I'm all for being aggressive. I'm all for taking it to the bowlers. But you have to have a better plan on a surface, which is the calculated risks, which is in your favour and which is in the bowler's favour. So by saying, yes, you go hard at it, I think that's a little bit of a cop-out. I think having a plan of how you're going hard at it is something Travis Head had and our batters didn't. I think that's pretty simple.
I mean, brilliantly summarised, Harmy. Another question for you. Why were England's bowling speeds down in second innings as opposed to first innings?
Again, I don't want to come back to the same thing. You go back to you could have a look at preparation that England have bowled 2 days, and they're not even long days in a row. I mean, this game's finished in 2 days. I mean, England haven't even batted 70 overs. I mean, as a bowling unit, you expect to bowl in a test match. You would expect to bowl at least just before the second new ball, if not with the second new ball, which is like 80 to 90 overs. So I don't think it's a workload thing. I think it's a little bit of shell shock as well, that this bloke's coming hard at us. And as a unit, we probably don't know the plan that we really want to bowl. We had, like Ben's just said, we had 2, 3, 4 plans to Travis Head as opposed to go, do you know what? Top of off stump, but in and around a good area. Let's see him hit us off that from a consistent basis and build from there. Because you know what? 24 hours ago, we looked $1 million by bowling in them sort of areas.
Well, I've got
it written down. Look, there was a pitch map. That's it. I've just caught my eye on it. There was a pitch map after 15 overs, and Australia were 88 for 1. And you would have thought, I mean, at my worst, I was more consistent than that. I mean, it was scattergun. It was all over the pitch. I reckon if you used a pitch map from 15 overs on day 1 to 15 overs on day 2, you would have gone from, wow, that's international, Jofra Archer, Bryden Carr, Mark Wood, all this, to an under 13 team. And I'm not blaming the bowlers one bit, because Head came and had a plan and came hard at England. But for me, you look at them 2 different days, and all of a sudden, when things are going for you, the wind's up your back, and you're letting the thing go, and everything feels great, you bowl at 145 kilometres an hour. When you've got a bloke coming in and whacking you off your length, and you don't know what plan you're trying to hit, and you're trying to do something different, all of a sudden your speed's going to 137, 135. That's just the human body. And that, for me, shell shock is what it's happened with England.
Let's hear from the Australian captain, Steve Smith, who's been speaking with TNT.
Yeah, good start, wasn't it? Yeah, 2-day, which we love as a team when you're on the right side of it. But yeah, today was just incredible, wasn't it? That innings from Travis Head was out of this world. You know, he just played some outrageous shots, and even when he shanked it, it seemed to hit it in the gap. So, you know, it's one of those days when you're on, and he made the most of it and, you know, got us home.
He said it was a captain-coach decision. At what point were you thinking of using him to open?
About the tea time when we ran off. Yeah, we were thinking of a few discussions and stuff, and probably didn't quite like how it worked in the first innings, and Travis was like, I want to do it. So I was like, mate, go for your life.
Who else was on your mind?
Nathan Lyon was actually talked about, to be honest with you. Yeah, but no, I think we made the right decision in the end. Trav, that was just incredible to witness.
Yeah, how does that rank for you in terms of knocks you've seen from him?
My gosh, I think it's right up there with knocks I've seen from anyone. You know, fourth innings, albeit day 2. Wicket was probably almost at its best to bat at the end there. But look, the way he just went about his business, played some really nice shots early, got into his stuff, and when they went the short plan, he played the way he wanted to. He hit it into the gaps that he wanted to hit into, and he was kind of toying with them, I suppose. So, yeah, and I thought Marnus did a wonderful job at the other end as well. Took it on, scored at a good rate. Those two just worked really well together, and yeah, so good to get that win.
Talk about Travis Head, but what about Mitchell Starc coming into this Test match? A couple of unfortunate injuries for you, probably scratching your head a little bit. Mitch Starc delivers once again.
He was unbelievable. Yeah, 2 of the big 3 out. You know, a lot on his shoulders as leader of the attack, and he bowled beautifully. I think even in the first innings, the ball was it was a terrible cricket ball that we had, and the boys were struggling to get the seam up straight. It was going off its axis, and the way he bowled to take 7 in the first innings was incredible. And then I think all of our bowlers today, they backed it up beautifully. We had a better ball. We were getting the ball in the right areas and getting a bit of movement. Scott Boland, I thought, bowled exceptionally well today. His lengths were magnificent, and Starkey did what he's done for a long time. Just bowled like a genius and created many chances.
Steve Smith there speaking with Isha Guha. Thanks to TNT Sports for that. You see, in there, Harmy is the answer for my question was, you know, there was a period where England lost the wickets of Ben Duckett and Ollie Pope. Now, I thought Scott Boland was bowling beautifully well. He could have got Ollie Pope out a couple of times with a ball that was just holding its line outside off stump. Pope's coming forward. He's playing defensively, and it beats the outside edge. After the lunch break, I thought, you know, Duckett, early on in the session, he looked proactive at the crease. He was getting on top of Boland, and he looked good, looked assured at the crease. But it's the start of his innings. He has to reset again. He's dismissed. Good catch from Smith. And then Pope goes. So England essentially have lost both batters, 76 for 3, but they're still in a dominant position. That, for me, is the time. And I'm probably whether I'm old-fashioned or not, I'm just going to say it. That's the point. You just try and just hold the game. Hold the game for a little bit. And for me, the 2 most disappointing dismissals were Harry Brook and Joe Root. England's 2 most important batters. England 76 for 2 became 76 for 5 with both Joe Root and Harry Brook early on in their innings, you know, trying to get on the front foot and trying to play down the ground. And both, one was caught in the slips. Second ball, right? And Joe Root inside edge back onto his own stumps. That, for me, was the moment where the game went decisively Australia's way. Now, you only have to look half an hour on from there to see the way that Carson Atkinson were batting with relative comfort, albeit against slightly strange tactics from Australia. They essentially bounced them out eventually, but not before they'd added 49. But that gave you an indication that actually the wicket was easing a bit. And lo and behold, as Steve Smith just said, when Travis Head was batting, he was batting at the best time across both days in all 6 sessions. He made it count. It was brilliant, yes. But essentially, I'm not sure England do need to be more positive when they're at the crease in afternoon session. They just need to get through to the evening session where they can then take advantage of a tiring attack, a flatter pitch and a softer ball. Or am I just, stuck in the past?
No, you're not stuck in the past. I think the only people that can't see this is the England cricket team. I mean, we talk about the game completely different to the way they see it. So somebody's got it right and somebody's got it wrong. They will always say, they'll kick back at us and say we're living the past. I'm not going to say what Ben said about what for me the older guard said about the preparation, but Ben Duckett played a similar way to what Travis Head did. A lot of it was square of the wicket, a lot of it was behind square. Same as the lower order. Our lower order in this Test match, the likes of Smith and Carson, Atkinson, they played square of the wicket, cross-back shots. All of a sudden, I mean, Ben Duckett and Ben Stokes got caught on the crease, got a decent ball, decent area, where if you nick it, I mean, it wasn't a bad bit of bowling. Some people would say you could have left it. I don't think you could have. I think somebody said on commentary, I think they could have left it. They couldn't. I think there was at the body, and I think they got squared up. It was a decent bit of bowling, but the same, exactly the same mistakes, and you've nailed on the head. Somebody's seeing this game completely differently, and unfortunately, I think the England cricket team see it in such a way that, well, if the going gets tough, we just go harder. Well, if you go harder and go smarter, you have a chance. If you go harder by just standing there and wafting at the ball from 5 meter length, which is missing probably 5th, 6th stump outside off stump, likely it is you're going to get caught. Because you're out of control of your body movements. You're out of control of your hands. And that's what brought England's downfall. And again, keep saying, when England are in the ascendancy and England are in front, sometimes that's the worst time for the England team, because then they make mistakes to let the opposition in. And you can't let teams like India and Australia be let in. They've done it away from home, they've done it at home, and they're now doing it in the biggest stage of all, in the Ashes. England should be going to Brisbane 1-0 up, and they should have won by tea time tomorrow if they'd just been a bit smarter and played the game. This team will say, we don't do that. Well, this team are in for a rude awakening, because if they don't do that in Australia and Australian pitches, the grounds and everything that comes with the Ashes, I mean, this could be a long 6 weeks for England. I hope it's not, because what I've seen on day one was so encouraging to think, right, we've got a great chance of competing and winning this Ashes series. What I've seen in day two is probably what I've seen for the last 2.5, 3 years with this England team. When the going gets tough, we get out of there.
Harmy, do England pick the same team for Brisbane if everyone's fit?
They can't, because I don't think they'll pick Mark Wood. I think there'll be a management issue there. So
well, he's only bowled. How many overs has he bowled? He's only
very few. I would go with.
You've got 10 days.
The problem they've got is the bowlers will get changed, the batters won't. And if you look at the scorecard, the two vulnerabilities in the team going into this series was Crawley and with Pope. Well, we haven't got a recognised opener because we didn't take a one. You look at the Lions game that's going on at the minute. McKinney scored a few runs. Haynes is the other opener. Emilio Gay got some runs yesterday. You ain't bringing one of them in over Zach Crawley. So you've only got really Jacob Bethel. What's Pope? Pope's got 46. He's got 46 and 33 in a game where England haven't got 380 runs. So you ain't changing the baton. England's top 7 will be the same top 7 come the end of Sydney, bar an injury. There will be the changes of the bowlers. Will they go in with the same attack? I would, but they will see it as a management issue. So it wouldn't surprise me if Wood comes out and a different bowler gets selected. But the way England have just gotten beat like that, I think they need to have a serious head-scratching moment on. It's not so much the personnel, but the game plan of how they're going to bat in Australia, because they keep coming out and playing this way. This could be it could be a long slog come the end of Sydney. But I would imagine there'll be one change. It'll be a tongue I don't think it'll go Potts. They might go tongue for Wood, but depending on how Mark's body is, because they'll want to try and protect him.
Well, he's only bowled 11 overs, Harmy, and we've got 10 days, so he's got to get over and over a day between then and now. Have you ever heard?
They're not making them decisions. They're not making them decisions. Sports scientists, and like I've said many times and ranted, and we haven't got enough time.
No, we don't. Let me ask you this question. Have you ever heard Ben Stokes sound like he sounded at the end of that Test match? He sounded stunned. He said he was shell shocked. And truth be told, England looked a beaten team well before the end.
Yeah, I get that, and I 100% go with that. But what I'll say is, if there is a team that can turn it around because of their mentality and the way they put adversity to one side and the way they put sometimes embarrassment to one side, which I think this is getting close to that, then it's this lot. They're very, very good at looking forward. They're very, very good at not looking at what's just happened. It's about the moment we live in. McCullum and Stokes are very, very good at that. So from that point of view, that gives me a slight bit of encouragement. But it doesn't give me any encouragement that we're going to make the same mistakes in our top 6, top 7 on how we possibly could get out over the course of the next 4 test matches. That is more important than bowling changes, selection changes, or anything like that. It's the manner we have been dismissed in the top 6, 7, which would really, really give me headaches over the next 10 days and going forward if I was in the management team.
It's very difficult to... I'm not going to take any positives from that game, right? I'm not talking about the positives, but we have seen this England team come back from 2-0 down against Australia to draw an Ashes series 2-2. They're just 1-0 down with 4 to play. Jofra Archer suggested in the first innings that he's back to something approaching his best. He's going to be an absolute threat, you'd think, in that pink ball test match. They do have out-and-out pace, and whilst Australia are going to be bringing back a couple of pretty tasty bowlers themselves, the Australian batting order outside of Travis Head in that session, you know, they do still retain a vulnerability about them. And also, of course, they do have a slightly interesting situation surrounding Usman Khawaja. Do you think it could almost be a situation that we've seen the last in an Australian baggy green from Usman Khawaja? Will he go back to open for the pink ball test match? What do you think Australia are going to do?
It's such a difficult one. Khawaja's going back to home, isn't he? So he's going back to Brisbane where his home ground is. How many times do you see that when a player's questioned about his place? The next game that he's playing is in his home venue and he goes and scores runs. Look, I think that with the chat about Weatherall coming into the squad, I think Khawaja will probably play. I don't see them changing too much. Whether he opens a batting, you know, do they move things around? That would be the big question, because I think what England have just been dealt was a huge blow of, you know, a massive counterpunch that Travis Head can do. Is there a question mark a question to bring Mitch Marsh in, which a lot of Australians would like to do?
Well, I don't think they need to now, do they? Well,
you could pick Mitch Marsh and bat him at 5 instead of Usman Khawaja and Travis Head open, and then all of a sudden you've got, you know, fire for fire. The one thing I have been consistent coming into this series is I don't think this series will be a series of huge quality. It'll be a great series because I don't think the quality in the batting is that high. I think that's what we've just proven in this test match. The bowlers, I mean, there is positives for England, huge positives for England, but there's also, glare and weaknesses that we've had so many times over the course of the Bazball era that are, I think, going to get magnified in the biggest series possible, which is the pressurized situation of the Ashes. But for me, Khawaja, unless you're going to bring in somebody into the middle order with power like a Mitch Marsh, or potentially do they go with another bowling option? I don't think they need it. If they get Cummins and Hazelwood back, where you bring Bo Webster in. But Khawaja going home, back to Brisbane, day-night test match. Head gives you an option, but I think Khawaja will be given another chance.
Okay. Harmy, thanks for your time as ever. Game over for England in the first Ashes test at Perth. They've once again started an Ashes campaign with a painful defeat, but this is up there or down there with one of the worst come from behind defeats they've ever experienced. They've gone down by 8 wickets. They'll head to Brisbane for the day-nighter with the returning Hazelwood and Cummins. 1-0 down with 4 to play. And we'll be covering it across talkSPORT and talkSPORT 2 and the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel with regular reports and insight and updates from the likes of Steve Harmison, Darren Goff, Mark Butcher, David Bumble-Lloyd, Matt Pryor, Brad Hogg, Alex Tudor, and plenty more. So keep it here, keep it talkSPORT. Thanks for joining us on Following On Ashes Inquest.